Imagine this. You're standing in a store, holding something you really want. Maybe it's a new phone, maybe it's a jacket you've been eyeing for weeks. Maybe it's just a nice dinner at a restaurant you can't really afford right now. You know you shouldn't spend the money. You know your bank account is tight. But then, almost like magic, a little voice in your head whispers something incredibly convincing. It's fine. Future me will handle it. And just like that, you swipe the card. You sign up for the payment plan. You click Buy Now, Pay Later. And in that moment, you feel great. The weight of the decision disappears because you just handed the problem to someone else. Except here's the thing. That's someone else. That's still you. And when the bill comes due, that future version of you is standing in the exact same shoes, with the exact same paycheck, wondering why past you was so reckless. This is one of the most dangerous psychological traps in personal finance. And almost nobody talks about it. Not because it's complicated, but because it's so deeply wired into how our brains work that most people don't even realize it's happening. So let's talk about the lie of future me, why your brain keeps falling for it, and how it quietly keeps millions of people stuck in a cycle of debt they can never seem to escape. Here's something psychologists have discovered that sounds almost unbelievable. When researchers put people inside brain scanners and asked them to think about themselves in the future, something strange happened. The brain activity they recorded looked almost identical to the brain activity that shows up when people think about a complete stranger. Let that sink in for a second. When you imagine yourself 5 years from now, or even 6 months from now, your brain processes that person the same way it processes someone you've never met. A stranger on the street. Someone else's problem. This is called temporal discounting, and it's one of the most well-documented quirks in human psychology. We naturally value what's happening right now far more than what will happen later. $100 today feels way more real than $100 next month. The pleasure of buying something right now feels vivid and exciting, while the pain of paying for it later feels distant and abstract, like it's happening to someone who isn't quite you. And this is where the trap begins. Because modern financial products are specifically designed to exploit this gap in your thinking. Buy now, pay later. 0% interest for 12 months. Minimum payments on credit cards. Monthly installment plans. Every single one of these tools works because they take the cost of something and push it into the future, into the hands of that stranger your brain doesn't really care about. You get the reward now. The other guy deals with the consequences. Let's make this really concrete. Say you want a laptop that costs $1,200. You don't have $1,200 right now, but the store offers you a plan. Just $100 a month for 12 months. Easy, right? In your mind, the math feels simple. $100 a month is nothing. Future me can totally handle that. But here's what actually happens. Next month, future me also wants something. Maybe the car needs a repair. Maybe a friend's wedding comes up. Maybe there's another sale that's too good to pass up. So now future me has the laptop payment plus new expenses. And because future me is just as human as present you, future me also pushes some of those new costs further into the future. Month after month, the pile grows. Each individual decision felt small and manageable in the moment. But stacked together, they create a wall of obligations that slowly chokes your financial freedom. This is how most people end up in debt. It's not one giant mistake. It's 100 small ones, each powered by the same lie. Future me will handle it. Now here's where the psychology gets really interesting. Because this isn't just about spending. This lie affects how people think about saving and investing too. Think about how many times you've told yourself something like this. I'll start saving next year when I get a raise. Or, I'll invest when I have more money. Or, I'll figure out retirement later. I'm still young. Every single one of those sentences is the same trick, just flipped around. Instead of handing future you a bill, you're handing future you a responsibility. You're assuming that the person you'll be in 5 or 10 years will somehow be more disciplined, more motivated, more financially savvy than the person you are today. But here's the truth that nobody wants to hear. Future you is not a better version of you. Future you is just you, in a different month, with the same habits, the same impulses, and probably even more obligations than you have right now. Research backs this up consistently. People overestimate how much they'll change in the future. Psychologists call this the end of history illusion. At every age, people believe they've just finished becoming who they're going to be. They acknowledge how much they've changed in the past, but they assume the person they are right now is basically the final version. So when you tell yourself future me will be better with money, you're relying on a transformation that, statistically, probably isn't coming. Not unless you do something different right now. Let's go deeper. Because this lie doesn't just keep individuals in debt. It actually reshapes entire lifestyles in ways people don't notice. There's a concept called lifestyle inflation, and it works hand in hand with the future me illusion. Here's how it plays out. You get a raise at work. Let's say you were making $50,000 a year, and now you're making $60,000. That extra $10,000 a year should change your financial life, right? That's what past you was counting on. But instead of saving or investing that money, something else happens. You move to a slightly nicer apartment. You upgrade your car. You start eating out more. You subscribe to a few more services. Within a few months, your expenses have risen to match your new income, and you feel exactly as financially tight as you did before the raise. And then you say it again. Next raise, I'll start saving for real. This is the cycle. Every version of you keeps handing the hard work to the next version. And every next version does the same thing. It's like a relay race where nobody actually runs. They all just pass the baton and sit down. The result? People earn more and more money over the course of their careers, but never actually build wealth. They stay on what researchers call the hedonic treadmill, always running, always spending, never getting anywhere. So what breaks the cycle? How do you stop falling for a lie that's literally hardwired into your brain? The answer is surprisingly simple, even if it's not easy. You have to close the gap between present you and future you. You have to make future you feel real. Here's one powerful way to think about it. Instead of asking, can I afford this payment? Ask a different question. Ask, would I hand a stranger a bill for this? Because remember, that's essentially what you're doing. Your brain treats future you like a stranger. So flip it around. If someone walked up to you on the street and said, hey, I just bought something nice for myself, but I need you to pay $100 a month for the next year, you'd think they were insane. But that's exactly what you do to yourself every time you finance something you don't need. Another technique that researchers have found incredibly effective is writing a letter to your future self. It sounds simple, almost silly, but studies show that people who vividly imagine their future selves make dramatically better financial decisions. When you force your brain to see future you as a real person with real struggles, the psychological distance shrinks. Suddenly, loading that person up with debt doesn't feel so easy. And here's a practical rule that can change everything. Before any non-essential purchase, especially one that involves debt or a payment plan, wait 72 hours. That's it. Just 3 days. What this does is powerful. It pulls the decision out of the emotional, impulsive part of your brain and gives the rational part time to catch up. You'd be amazed how many things feel absolutely necessary in the moment, but completely forgettable 3 days later. But let's talk about the most important shift, because it's not really about tricks or rules. It's about identity. The people who break out of debt and actually build wealth aren't the ones with the most willpower. They're the ones who change how they see themselves in relationship to time. Instead of treating future you like a stranger who can deal with problems later, they start treating future you like someone they're responsible for. Almost like a child they're raising. You wouldn't saddle a child with debt. You wouldn't steal from a kid's savings account to buy yourself something shiny today. But that's exactly what you do to your future self when you spend money you haven't earned yet. Wealthy people, the ones who actually build lasting wealth and not just high incomes, tend to think in reverse. They don't ask, what do I want right now? They ask, what will future me thank me for? And then they act on that, even when it's uncomfortable in the present. That's the real difference. It's not about earning more. It's not about some secret investment strategy. It's about who you choose to prioritize, the you who exists in this moment, or the you who has to live with the consequences. Here's the thing about the future me lie. It feels generous. It feels optimistic. Telling yourself that everything will be easier later feels like hope. But it's not hope. It's avoidance wrapped in a comforting story. Real hope is looking at your situation honestly and making a small, difficult choice today so that the person you become tomorrow has more freedom, more options, and more peace of mind. Every dollar you don't spend impulsively is a gift to your future self. Every debt you avoid is a burden you refuse to place on someone who can't defend themselves yet. Every time you pause before swiping that card and ask, is this for present me or against future me? You're breaking a cycle that keeps most people financially stuck for their entire lives. Future you is not a stranger. Future you is the person who will either thank you or resent you for the choices you make today. So the next time that little voice whispers, it's fine, future me will handle it, remember what you now know. That voice isn't being kind. It's being reckless with someone else's life. And that someone is you.